Giacomo's. Sal, he's the man. Giacomo's Italian Market. We had him on the podcast. We're doing a pop-up together. I don't know if I've met anyone who as real as Sal. He hugs me every time I see him. I love Sal. And you know what else I love about him? His food. His food is fantastic. It's an Italian market right over there on College Hill. He's got sausages. He's got his own soda now. There's pasta, there's the rice balls. There is so much stuff over there that is just unique and special. And then you got the menu. The breakfast sandwich I was lucky enough to have, that's killer. The sausage sandwich is killer. The sausage itself is killer. The cheesesteak is killer. Giacomo's is such a unique thing to this area, and I'm so happy it's like 10 minutes from the studio. But Giacomo's, man, they are on... 700 Cattell Street in Easton, College Hill, and you can go to giacomositalianmarket.com. I cannot wait to do more things with him. I'm selling his sausage sandwich called the G-Spot. We're doing that on our pop-ups. So that is Giacomo's Italian Market. Please go check them out. Love them to death. They are a new sponsor, and thank you so much for sponsoring the show. Mindleaf CBD. I'm a lot calmer with this read. You know why? Because I'm using these products from Mindleaf. Liz came on the show multiple times. Awesome story on how she got into this. They are making all their products. We got the barbecue pretzels. The pretzels are fire. The tinctures, those are my big thing that I use. I go to sleep with those. The tinctures knock this groundhog out every time I go to bed. The CBD gummies are great, and the Delta 8s. The Delta 8s are fantastic. They'll put you on the moon. I enjoy that. Seriously though, this is a fantastic CBD product. I stand behind it. I got to use all of their stuff, and it is 100% the go-to thing I use now for joint pain, for going to sleep. The snacks are awesome as well. It's just an added bonus. I'll go over to the store and pick those up. Liz is one of a kind. You can follow their social media, Mindleaf CBD, and then it's mindleafcbd.com that you can order all their stuff online. So if you're not local to the area, if you are local, I suggest you go over to the shop. They have a really cool shop over on College Hill. It's actually close to Giacomo's, which is another sponsor. But that's Mindleaf CBD. Get your tinctures, get your Delta 8s, get your gummies, get all of your CBD needs from Mindleaf. We're doing pop-ups and things together as well. So follow their social media. We are connecting them into the network. So go support them because they support me. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. fiveanddimeeaston.com. They have their website officially up. You can shop most of their stuff online. They also have Fucked. They have Fucked in the store. I think they're the only one allowed to sell Fucked out of their store. It's 484-544-4719. That's at 5 and Dime Easton on social media. These guys are great. I mean, they're killing it. It's the best skate shop, in my opinion, in the area. They have a lot of cool stuff there. Both the owners are rad. I stop in when I can. They're open Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 5. There is someone always there to help you out with your needs. You can check their inventory off the website. You can check out some videos they got on there, and they're doing some cool things. Their social media is awesome. They support a lot of local skaters in the area, and they're growing. I'm excited to be a part of them growing. I'm excited to help them out. They're helping me out. It's a good relationship, and I push 5 and Dime Easton because they're the best skate shop in the area. Check them out. BTG Blasting. My man, Pat Cunningham, offering you pressure washing, disinfecting, acid washing, and rust removal. It is a high pressure washing business, bringing your stuff back to glory. He does anything from houses all the way to having him come into the studio. He comes down to the studio on a schedule and he disinfects the studio, and we are certifiably clean, and it just covers all the bases. So with the things that are going on now, you're going to need somebody like this. He's got a sticker out front. I am certifiably clean down here. He also offers free estimates on all your needs. He can do corporate and at home. You can reach him at 484-241-1711 and btgblasting@gmail.com. He just started this business and it is taking off. I'm super excited for him, and I'm super excited that he's a sponsor of the show. And you can check out BTG Blasting on social media for all of your pressure washing, disinfecting, acid wash, and rust removal needs. It's high pressure washing, bringing your stuff back to glory. He offers many things, and you need to check him out. Eric K. Dowdle, defense attorney. We had him on the show, and what crazy stories this guy's had. He's helped a ton of people over the years, and if you're looking for help, he is your guy. You can contact them at 610-882-3000, and it's ekdefense.com. Do you have a pending court case? Do you have a court appearance and need a defense lawyer? Do you need proper representation? Felony, misdemeanor, drug offense, assault, homicide, DUI, traffic violation, appeals. Reach out to Eric. Check out the podcast we did with him as well. It has his whole story on there. If you need help, Eric is here to help you. He sponsors the show. We appreciate it. He's going to be doing a monthly thing with us. Eric will be a part of the family now. Thank you for sponsoring. All right. American Radio, episode 199. That's how we do it. We just roll in.
Let's do it.
It used to be so uncomfortable, and then I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, just here, there we go. We're starting. You reached out to me. It's always awesome finding people in Nazareth who are actually doing stuff. It's hard to find. I guess it's not hard, but not a lot of people reach out, and then they're like, oh, I'm in town. So you had reached out, and we talked about a book that you have written. What is it? The
Earl, the Christmas Tree Spider.
I'm guessing this is a children's book for Christmas time.
Definitely for adults. No, it's a children's book.
I know that there's a journey here, and I want to kind of peel back the layers and the onion to how you even got here. I had my friend Ray on, who put out a children's book, and it's always fascinating me because I was always into literature and writing. It was the only thing I excelled at in high school. So, where did you start writing? Were you a person who kept journals? Did you take classes in college? Where did the love for taking your ideas and thoughts and putting them on paper begin?
So I hated journals. I was not that girl at all. I was building forts in the woods.
Yes,
but
that's such a lost thing to do.
I know, it was so much fun down by the creek. It was a good time. But writing was always what I excelled in as well. So math was not my thing.
Nope.
I think I got my first D in math in 4th grade. It was horrible. But writing, I could write a 15-page paper in 2 hours. It was always just very easy for me. So throughout my life, I had kind of dreamed of becoming a journalist, but as we all decide to take 500 paths to get where we're trying to go, I did that. Went to college for a little bit, took journalism, left college, tried 100 different things, and then put myself actually back in college in my 30s when I first turned 30 for event planning. So this wasn't really where I was going with things. But then I decided to have kids. And when I was in my event planning career, I did a lot of stuff in New York City. I'm a Jersey girl. Did a lot of stuff in New York City, was working 22 hours a day, coming home at, 4 in the morning.
Did you like event planning?
Oh, I absolutely adored it because it's kind of like my other thing.
Yeah.
It's, I love putting things together and making life magical and everything else. So it was awesome for me. And I worked on design teams, which is something I absolutely adore. But it was too much. It was too much with having kids. I couldn't be in New York, for 22 hours, setting up, taking down, doing all this stuff. So it really was a time for me to kind of figure out what my next move was going to be. I went back to writing. I started taking some classes at NYU online, just creative writing classes. And my goal was to actually write a crime novel. So once again, my path turned when this story presented itself. And that's kind of how I got into it. I had applied for a local gig out here as a freelance journalist, which I've been doing for 8 years now. And it all kind of came together. So
when you were getting into writing, and was it fictional stuff that you enjoyed? Was kind of creating a story, because it's starting to make sense with the event planning. Because anytime I planned an event on a small level or worked with somebody who did event planning, you're taking an idea and you're bringing it to life. And then I didn't realize till I was older that that's what I really enjoy doing, is taking creative thought and then transforming it into an actual thing. That's why I excelled at writing, and that's why I we talked about putting on events within the first 3 minutes of meeting each other. There's just a specific type of person that enjoys doing that.
Yeah.
Now, when you were getting into your writing and all that, were you doing a journalistic style where you were like reporting on things, or were you really dabbling in like the creative stuff and like putting long form stories? Because I mean, I would imagine you would get lost in thoughts in creating a story like that.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like
No.
writing is, everyone thinks that like, oh, you could just put this together real quick. Like I wrote an article last night. It took me 5 hours to write it because you go back and forth and have to research and have to make sure your facts are right and everything else. So when you get into writing, it's not like, I think people think that it's this easier kind of route, and it definitely is not. It's a lot of stress constantly coming up with creative ways to present people as well, and present, different things and events and everything else. So it's very hard. And as a matter of fact, when I wrote this book, I sent it out blindly to any and every publisher, basically from the back of my kids' children's books. I looked on the back and just would send it like wherever, anywhere. And
It's a great idea.
They don't take unsolicited manuscripts. A lot of places don't take them. So it was really a long shot. And after 6 months of sending it, I reread it and I was like, this story sucks. So and at the time I had started working with foster kids a little bit. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I started working with foster kids.
Most creative people do.
I know. And that's the thing is like when you're a creative, you're really like all over the place trying to tie it all in. And I think it
makes sense though from what you say though, is where, like, because when you were saying it's hard to write and all that, it's also hard to get in the mental space to write. Like I'm like that with reading. Like I buy books in hopes to read them one day, but like I have to be in a complete mind frame to pick up a book. And when I get in it, I can, like, there's sometimes where I'll just cruise and then I'll read for 4 or 5 hours and like not look up from the book. So when I used to write, or even just doing editing or getting into this, it's not like when people see the show and they're like, oh, like sometimes I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then like I have to force myself to do it. And if you're in a creative space and you don't want to do something, what I've designed for me is that I'll just go over here and do something creative and change the palette of like what I'm working on, and then I'll want to come back to that eventually. So that's why I constantly have a bunch of stuff spinning all the time, because I need to just kind of keep turning the creative wheel, because if I don't go back to a project, I don't enjoy how that feels.
No, I am somebody who, whenever I start anything, I have to finish it. So like I started raking the leaves the other day and now I've got blisters all over my hands because I had to finish it. Like it sucks. And so with this book, when I did write it and reread it, because I went back to it, which is what you do in any type of writing situation, you keep going back to see if you made a mistake or if you could change something. And even after you present it, you still could go back and change things.
What caught your eye this time around?
With this one?
Yeah.
So with this one, after about 6 months, I reread it. And I had started working with foster kids and I gave it a lot more heart. And the story really became a story about love and acceptance, hope and home, which is what a lot of foster kids are really looking for. And once I put that into the book, that's when I finally got picked up by a publisher. So it was, it needed heart. And everything in life needs heart. And that's the thing,
I think it's also like, when you do something like that and you make it relatable by putting like personal touches in it and then kind of giving it a different angle, it's a lot easier for people to kind of want to pick it up and, get involved with it, which is more likely why somebody who read it was like, I think this is super relatable to a lot of people and it's always a good story. Now, where did the story come from? And what was the moment where you were like, I'm writing a children's book?
Well, that's exactly it. It's extremely relatable. So every year we cut down live Christmas trees, to put in our house and everything else. And there's always these little spiders. And one year they were so big and so furry. And I was like, I'm going to burn this house down or put a for sale sign on the front yard because ain't happening. So I didn't do that, clearly. But me and my daughters decided to name one of the spiders Earl, and we laughed about him all season long. And I was like, wow, I think there's a story here. And not only do I think there's a story here, I think it's a story that's going to resonate with people, because anyone who cuts down a live Christmas tree at some point has had a spider in their tree.
Yeah, I mean, that's why my parents stopped doing the live trees, because of just shit like that happening.
Yeah, after I wrote it, I've heard of squirrels, like all different types of things in trees. I'm like, oh my God, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so that's kind of, how the story started. And then after I rewrote it and put more heart in it, it just like there's one page in here where Earl sits down and writes a letter to Santa Claus. And in one of the parts of the letter, it says, I know I am a spider and they are not. Do you think they would accept me? Could we give it a shot? And on Christmas morning, he's accepted into the family as one of their own. So it's a story that's true. It's actually about like true life situations with spiders living in the tree, but fictional, but also has a message. And one of the things that I plan on doing with all of my books is always continuing with a certain message throughout the book. I have a second book coming out. Earl, the Christmas tree goes trick-or-treating. Christmas tree spider goes trick-or-treating. So that'll be out next year with another message. So there's going to be all little hidden messages to kind of remind kids and parents, let's put the magic back in it and let's everybody really just be nice and get along.
Well, it makes sense now why it was picked up, because that's like a super relatable thing. And then you have parents who would want to teach that to their kids at a young age about acceptance and stuff. Did you work with your kids through your process with writing? Did you go back to the girls and be like, or were you just kind of working on it by yourself?
No, I was kind of like, get the hell out of my way. I need to write this story. No, I sat there at night and I wrote the first version, sent it out. And then when the second version came, it just all like came to me. It just flowed, and I think that's when something's going to be good. It's when it all kind of just flows and hits all the right points at the right time,
I talk to a lot of people who come on here, and I always tell, especially when it's people like starting out early in a business or something, and there's just something about when you start it, you just feel as if you're in a lane, and then everything starts working, and it can be a dumpster fire in real life, but then like, I'm like, oh man, that's moving. And it's weird because you feel it moving and you're like, this, I have something here. Yeah. It's a really cool moment to experience. How did you come up with like the art and like, where did that all come from? Because you have the story, and were you drawing, or do you have any artistic ability? Did you have to hire someone? Like, where did bringing the character to life start?
So I drew a penguin once for Pictionary, and it became like I was like the laughing stock of my family. Like they mailed me this penguin, they took pictures of it. Like it is not. So no, I am not an artist by any means in that regard. The actual publisher had a team working with them.
Oh, that's really cool.
But I will say this: I'm a very type A. Like, this is what I want. So when I submitted my manuscript, I submitted it with very detailed visions of what I wanted the graphics and pictures and everything else to be illustrated like. So that was actually a very long and tedious process.
Well, that's why I kind of came over to the question. Like, walk us through how you even go through all that, because I know what it's like kind of doing not similar stuff, but I know what it's like on doing like the editing and taking an idea and getting it all together. And then like I've been working on this commercial that we're trying to do for over a year, and it's like we're close to getting it done, but like I didn't realize it was going to take that long. No. And then now I'm like, okay, well, we should have hired an editor. We should have done this. Like, walk us through the whole process of how that even starts with bringing your characters to life, because you also can't settle.
No.
Because one, it'll drive you nuts, and two, it's your baby.
So that is actually what happened. It was a year-long process of going back and forth. And here's the thing. No matter how much detail you tell somebody, they interpret what you're saying differently. Just like with music, with any type of art, people interpret things differently consistently. So it was very, very hard. And the original illustrator that they had, I mean, if I showed you the original picture of Earl, you'd be like, wait, what is this? Because it was like my penguin drawing.
Yeah.
And so it was like around a year, and the publisher actually said to me, hey, you have to make a decision at some point. Like, we can't continue with this. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, are you going to drop me? And so I got nervous. So I just started saying yes. And then they had hired on a new illustrator, and they said, hey, we had him take a look. What about this, Earl? And I was like, yes.
What was that feeling like?
It was like, thank you, God, because it really was not my book. It was not It was not going to go anywhere. It was going to be dead in the water, to be honest with you. The illustrations, especially for children's books, mean so much.
Yeah.
So that other picture, I'll have to show it to you. It was laughable.
Yeah. So how long did the process take once you had? Was it once that like kind of like he showed you this version and you were like, yes, that's it? Then was everything kind of falling into place?
Then it started to really snowball. I mean, once that new illustrator came on board, he got my vision. So sometimes you just need to click with somebody,
yeah.
you know. And me and that other person, we were oil and vinegar. We were not clicking. So I'm very grateful that they got this new person in.
So then when you have the story's already developed, you have your notes, you went through all the process with the guy who couldn't really nail down your vision. Now this guy nails down your vision. Now do you have to go through every single page and every single cartoon that he draws and the colors? Like, how does that all work?
Everything, every page, every detail, every color. And there were definitely things that like I would have done a little bit differently or changed some colors and that kind of stuff.
But at this point, it was just dragging too long.
Dude,
yeah.
It was too long.
Yeah.
It was over a year. We didn't get the book out. It was 2 years before we got the book out. So it was a very, very long process. And then, you know, there's so much beyond that because then there's publicity and there's how do you actually get it out there and into people's
That's the
hands?
stuff I want to get into next because
that's tough.
So now you go through every single page, you get it down, and I'm excited now because you're saying this, but like I know what it's like when you get into round 2. So when you get to do that Halloween book, like you already have the same guy who's going to draw it all. Like you're going to be able to cut the time in half, and you're going to be able to just kind of really get what you want out of it.
We'll
which is
see.
But I mean that's what happens. Hope. That's what happens when you get into projects. Is like each time you learn, and I always push this on the show. Is like a buddy of mine came down here this weekend, and he's like, it's he like was like, yo, it's so awesome that everything's working for you, and he's like, it was just all your hard work. He's like, it's just you not getting it right each time. And then each time you do it, you know what to do. So then you have a skill set and you can keep applying it. If you keep applying the skill set, it just becomes better. There's no way that Halloween book isn't going to be better. You already have the runway in front of you.
Hopefully. I mean, I think the big thing, and this is for everybody and anybody and anything that you do in life, is passion. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, because if you're not, then
there's some people who wouldn't have stayed doing this for 2 years.
No, never.
I know that look.
It was like, oh my God, should I put Bailey's in my coffee? What am I doing? But it was a lot. It was a lot. So, but passion is so important in anything that you do, and you should teach this to your kids because they should be passionate too. And you got to just keep going for it, and don't settle, and always try to make it better than what you did before. So,
how long did all of the art stuff take to get nailed down?
That was what took about a year.
So it was a year getting the art guy, and then another year to actually get all the art correct?
It was about a year with the first guy, and then it was about 6 months with the second guy.
Oof.
Which was brutal. The story didn't change.
Yeah.
Never changed.
Yeah.
Like, that was solid. It was the art. It was tough. And so I'm very excited for this Halloween book. I want to kind of go through all of the holidays with Earl. I'm very excited about it, but I'm also very nervous for the illustration part of it because it was brutal. Yeah,
because then you got to start thinking about how soon you have to give yourself 6 to 12 months to get the art finished.
Yeah. So
how far out do you got to plan a book? 2 to 3 years?
I would say without a doubt 2 to 3 years. If you're doing your own illustrations for a book, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have control over it. Like I said, I can't draw. So for me, I had to have that other element. And a lot of publishers actually do offer an illustrator to you. So if you go in, to it with an illustrator, it's a little bit less, I would say, but 2 to 3 years is pretty much what you're looking at for sure.
And then what are those conversations like? Are you on the phone with him, or is that all emails?
It's emails,
I
lots
hate emails.
And lots. I know.
It's so horrible to communicate.
It is.
I could get on a phone and change everything in 30 seconds and then be like, why would we have done 7 emails?
It's so funny because it was like 7 emails every time. Yeah. And then I'd get on the phone and I'd be like, dude, just tweak it. Like, just do this. And they'd do it and send it to me, and then it would be done. So it was a lot of back and forth like that. It's stressful.
Yeah, it's really stressful, especially like I went through that with I just can compare it to when we do the clothing designs, and when I used to be doing a lot of apparel. Like, it's not easy Like, especially when somebody would draw something and the idea is totally wrong, and then I got to like sit here and be like, yo, dude, like we got to start over, and then I had a deadline for the shirt to come out too early because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, it's really stressful nailing down. But then, you know, I found a couple guys that can take my vision, and that now we know how to work together, from like long text messages at night, emails, phone calls, and then you finally get on the same wavelength. And you know, that's why I was saying I think you'll be fine going into the next one, but you're just going to need to have your runway. Now you have the book written, the 10 months of the artwork, and you have everything done. And then do they send you a copy before it goes out to let you know exactly what it's going to look like?
So they sent me a copy, looked it over. I was like, this is awesome. Let's do it. And then
what was like getting in the mail?
Actually, the biggest thing in the mail was when they sent me the letter of like, you know, we're gonna publish your book.
Did you keep it?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I first got the envelope out of the mailbox and I was like, this is too big.
It's like whether or not you're going into college.
Yeah, I was like, this is just too big. So I brought it in and I was like, my smile was like the Joker, you know, like I was like, ah. And then so I opened it up and it was like, congratulations, and I was like, bah. You know, like pop the champagne. So that was like unbelievable. You know, in life you are always looking to succeed in something, and I've done so much stuff in my life. Like I'm a creative, so I jump and I do different things, and I feel like in life if you want to do something, do it. Go for it. Like, you know, don't stop yourself, don't quit, just go for it. So I've tried a bunch of different things, and to find success in writing was huge for me. It was a dream of mine to be a writer when I was younger. I didn't really follow through with it until I was old enough to be mature enough to do it. So to really find success in that was huge for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a crazy moment to have.
It was wild. Very wild. And the second book, now that the second book it has been picked up, because each book is another, you know, are they going to do it? Are they not?
So you have to still submit every single time. It's not like they're giving you free range to like do whatever you want.
No.
You got to submit. So you have already submitted the Hollow. How long did it take you to write that?
To be honest with you, I'm a pretty quick writer. Like I'm a visionary. So once I get a vision in my head, I go for it.
Plow
and like,
through it.
I'll pull over on the side of the road and start writing on my phone just to get it down, you know? And that's exactly what I did. So then I went home, and that night I just started to work on it. And the second book is a lot more rhyming, which is a lot of fun. I used to write like poems and raps. Eminem was my man.
Yeah,
so like
awesome.
I would, you know, sit in my basement at my parents' house and write these raps out. And so rhyming, you know, having this book be a lot more rhyming was pretty cool for me. And it kind of, again, just flowed. And I went back and tweaked and had to change things and everything else. And I'll probably change some stuff again. But it was, you know, maybe a couple of days, not too long.
Yeah. Well, I was going to, like, even just glancing over at the book, it's like children's books are not primarily super long because of the attention span of a child.
Right.
But it's also got to be difficult to shorten your writing to kind of make it all flow. And then they're really, you know, because there has to be, you know, the front, the middle, and the end. And then, you know, and then the more you're talking to me, the more I keep thinking like, man, like, do you go by how many words you think you're going to have on a page, or is, you know, like how do you break that down? And I'm sure once you did it, then now you can think that way. But was it difficult to learn the style of writing a kid's book?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first one was really tough because, like I said, I rewrote the story, and the first story that I wrote was very short. It was like, you know, one sentence per page type of a
Merry
thing.
Christmas.
Yeah, which was like, it was so bad. So thank God they didn't pick that one up, because dead in the water. And then I started writing this one, and it's actually longer. It's there's paragraphs on pages. It's 20, I think it's 26 pages. I don't even know. But it's, you know, illustrations as well. But it's a little bit longer. The big thing with writing a children's book is not only do you want to grab their attention, you know, and they have a short attention span with the amount of pages and what you're writing, but you also have to make it magical for them so that they want to read the story. That's why I think like putting in messages from the book and having parents use it as a tool for teaching as well is important too, you know? So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's short or long. You have to you have to come across where kids are going to be like, wow, I want to read this. Or,
Yeah.
Mommy, can you read that book again? You know, which is really when I have people email me or message me or whatever and say, my kid asked to read this 10
Every night.
times.
Yeah.
That is like, yes, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, it's got to feel awesome as a mom, and then it's also got to feel awesome as a writer to be like, I got it. Like,
Yeah.
I got it done.
Yeah.
Like, I got the message through, and that's probably the hardest part. That's probably, I don't know, it would kind of seem intimidating, or you would have self-doubt in getting that all wrapped together to make sure it works.
Yeah.
It's like anything else that you put a lot of passion and time into, even with cooking, and you go to, you know, you want somebody to taste how you're tasting it. So that's got to feel incredible. Now, when you get all the artwork done for this, what are the next steps? Because now you're like into like adulting in business. Like, you know what I mean? Like I always call it adulting, where like you got to figure out how you're going to sell all the books. You're going to, you know, are we putting it on Amazon? Is this going into bookstores? Like, what is the whole monster that is book sales these days? Because it's not like how it used to be back in the day, where it was like the library and like how we used to go get books as kids. I remember the Sweet Pickles bus. But I'm totally dating myself again. I've done it 3 times this week. But like, you know, how do you go about, I mean, does the publishing company already have their avenues and then they kind of pick and choose, or walk us through how that works?
So my publisher and a lot of publishers, especially, well, a lot of publishers, not even just children's book, a lot of publishers, they have marketing teams within the house. So I do have a marketing team. But what I found was that when I reached out to bookstores and stuff like that, that resonated with them
way more than
my
company.
publisher.
Yeah.
The publisher like sends, you know, an email.
Copy paste.
Yeah, like copy paste. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's really about like, you know, connecting with people. And there were calls that I made and people were so, like, had no interest. And I was like, like, you know, screw you, because they didn't care. And I was like, I've got something here. You got to read this. But a lot of people in this area, a lot of bookstores in this area were more than happy to house me. So my book is actually online at barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com, target.com, and amazon.com.
Hell yeah.
And then you can also, Moravian Bookshop is hosting me, and they carry it.
They do a lot of cool stuff.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love that store. And then a lot of the Barnes and Nobles around here are hosting me for book readings too. So it's I've been trying to crack the New York City scene to become a New York Times best book seller. You have to sell 5,000 books within a week, which is not easy to do at all. So I'm trying to get in there, and that's been a tough shell to crack. But hopefully next year, and with my second book, it's going to garner a little bit more attention to the series. And so I'm hoping to do that soon. Actually, I would love to turn this into a movie, a children's movie.
Yeah.
Because they have, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Spookily, Spookily the Square Pumpkin. It's this story about a pumpkin who's square, and like all the pumpkins make fun of him, and then he like saves the pumpkin patch after a storm. It's a really, really cute book that they turned into a movie, and they play it on like CBS, whatever, you know, during the holidays. And I really think Earl the Christmas Tree Spider would be such a good little kids movie that they could play as well. So if anyone's out there and knows a producer, call me, because I am in.
Yeah, I love your passion for just you're setting these goals, and I always tell everyone it's important to set goals even though you're inside of a project. But I mean, for you, everything you listed at where this is selling, is that from a bit of the publisher? Or is that all the groundwork that you laid out to get it in all this stuff locally? So
what's interesting is my book is, all books that go through publishers are on Ingram. It's a place where bookstores and stuff like that can go, and they can purchase the book and sell it. Anyone can do it if you are a bookseller. So when it got on Target and Walmart, like, we didn't even know. They were researching Christmas books to put in their store. And they just saw it.
And then what is there reviews on it, or?
There's review. That's actually another really big element to it. So on Amazon, I have a lot of reviews, and they're all good. Thank God. You know, knock on wood.
Yeah. Who's like, I hate Earl.
Yeah, this is the worst story ever. But thank God. But I have, and what I was told is you really need like 15 good reviews, and I've got over 30 at this point. So that was a huge help for me, and I thank everybody who did leave a good review for me. If you're you're going to leave a bad one, please just leave it to the side.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's funny because I've written reviews about businesses before and stuff. They suck and this and that. And you don't realize like how much that really can hurt somebody.
Absolutely.
So if, and you don't know if that person was having a bad day, or you may just not like the flavor of something, or whatever the case may be. So you got to be careful when you do
Yeah,
those
Yelp.
things.
Yelp is one that I started working with a lot of food guys in the city. Angelo turned me on to a lot of guys, and the one guy's Steve, and I want to have him on the show. And he has an app called Ate It, and you can only use 8 words to describe it, and it has to be positive. And if it's negative, they don't allow the review to come out, because it's like there's people that come in that you go on a review and they're like, the food was awesome, but I hated the waitress, 1 star. And then I've worked in restaurants. Like, that review crushes people. Yep. I think people are getting away from the whole bad review thing. But for a while, Yelp was like the standard of how you found out if something was worthwhile. And then it just got oversaturated with bad reviews. But I mean, we talked about it earlier too. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes people should just keep bad reviews to themselves, because there's some people that will love, and I've seen it. Like, I've given people burgers and they're like, give me another one right now. And then I've given it to people and they're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's everybody's interpretation of what it is. But if you don't like something, there's no point in blasting it out onto social media, especially when it's like you have all these goals that you're trying to get to. And then if someone's having a bad day and was like, well, I couldn't figure this book, blah, blah, blah. And then now you can't get to your goal of having this, selling these books. I think sometimes people don't understand that people's livelihoods and businesses are connected to the reviews.
Yeah, and I think that goes like along with everything in life. And it's one of those things where like before you set out on a journey like this, you don't really care, because you don't really know. You don't really know how detrimental that could be to somebody. So once you go down this kind of a road, business, entrepreneur, this type of, writing a book, that type of thing, you really like, you're ready to be that keyboard warrior and like blast whoever and whatever you can, because you're upset or whatever the case may be, frustrated, whatever. But once you do this, it really does kind of set you back. And the other thing that's kind of funny is I actually like grew up not liking kids. like I was like, there needs to be adult only restaurants. Why is this child on this airplane? Like, there should be adult only air flights. Like,
it's a different perspective when you don't have kids.
All of this stuff. And then I had kids and I was like, oh my God, like they're the joy of the world. Like, this is what makes the world shine. So like, your perspectives change, and sometimes you have to take a deep breath and just not do certain things. Yeah.
And, everybody's opinion is to themselves. And it's just like, a lot of my friends have kids, and I ended up not having kids. And, but, I have my nieces, and I spend a lot of time with my friends' kids. So it's like, I kind of have an eye into that world. And if you don't even have an eye into that world and you're just mad because kids are making noise, like, I could see why you would, say certain things, but also like the older I get, the more perspective I have by just putting myself in that person's shoes. And like now it's like that I'm older and I'll look at somebody who can't control their kid, and I'm like, man, that's gotta suck. She's probably embarrassed that like this kid's doing this on the plane and doesn't want, and then she's now upset because her parenting's not working. And whenever I started doing that after I worked in the restaurant industry, and like I'd be at a table and my friends or my mom would be like complaining that something's taking too long, and I'm like, yo, there's like 100 tickets. Somebody definitely called out. 2 people don't like each other. Right. I said one guy's probably going to quit this week, and I said, and they're having to work as a team, and there's 150 people in here. So like, just order another drink and relax, because everybody in the back is having the worst time of their life. Yeah. So it's like, when you start taking in perspectives of where people are in their life, it really starts changing kind of what you want to do and like how you view things, and especially with leaving a review.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, there's so much that we can all say. You know what I mean? Like, things go wrong every single day. I mean, my daughter at the age of 3 was yelling, "Drive your freaking car!" You know what I mean? Like, because like but at the same time, like you have to learn to like calm down, which is something I'm really working on, because I am passionate in every aspect of my life.
Same here. And when you're passionate about stuff like that, you take, and like that's the other thing too, is you don't know how you're going to affect somebody with a bad review. With somebody who's put their time and energy and 2 years into a book, and somebody's like, meh.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
I spent all this time doing
Yeah.
this. I'm sacrificing all this stuff to get out there, and I want a name for myself, and you're just going to dump all over my book, and then you don't do anything. You don't do anything because you're afraid to take the risk of failing. And then it's like, and then now you're allowed to just say what you want about me.
Well, and the other thing too is when that does happen, kind of like what you said, like it really stops people from pursuing their dreams, you know? And look, like there's people out there that definitely suck, you know? There's people out there who shouldn't have written books, and there's people who shouldn't cook, and there's people, but like it doesn't, how badly is that impacting you that you have to ruin it for them?
Yeah.
You know?
I've been doing a lot of that lately with taking a deep breath and like when something, and it's so huge for me that I do this because I've always just been like, to snap and be super passionate and then regret some of the shit I would say or some, you know, be like, wow, you really went from 0 to 100 to like calm down. Where now it's like when somebody says something and I know I'm going to like emotionally react to it, I wait. Yeah. And then like I'll let it like literally go through me and I'll go for a hike and then it's okay because I'm so used to just responding immediately and being like, or yelling and being like, raw. And then now it's like I have this version of me that I'm developing where I kind of take a deep breath. I take it all through. And literally it's just like it starts here and then it goes all the way down to my feet. And then when it's out, then I respond back to the text or the situation. And then I'm no longer emotional about it. And then like I say to myself, I'm like, yo, that's not real life. Like that's just somebody bothering you, and that's not a part of your life. A part of your life is building this empire and staying in work and meeting awesome people in town like you. Like that's what I build my life off of now. So now it's like I can now that this is this firmly grounded that I can now make decisions where like, yo, man, it's okay to like ignore that and then just come back over to this thing that you love or respond to that when you're too busy to give them even the time of the day to even respond to it. And once I started doing that, it's really made me grow up faster. It's really made me be more mature and start looking at like, and paying attention to me. And I think a lot of people don't pay attention to themselves because they're afraid to be an author. They're afraid to do a podcast. They're afraid to do all this stuff. And then they dump that negative energy out on people online. And it's just, I don't know. It's not a healthy thing to do. And I don't ever enjoy, I used to have people contact me all the time over the name of the business. And they're like, this is connected to a school shooting or this is connected to the Holocaust. And I'm like, yo, this is a very positive thing that I built from a very tough struggle in my life, and now it's become my passion and now my business, and I make a living off of it. Like there isn't anything more positive than this story. And then they'd be like, yeah, so what? You still shot. I'm like, what do you mean so what? I just told you. And then now I block anyone who throws negative stuff like that, especially DMs where somebody takes the time out to be like, you know, you're not even paying attention to what I'm doing.
No. And 9 times out of 10, they're not. I think everyone needs a little namaste in their lives.
Yeah. That's why I take that break.
Yeah. I do think, though, that there are times when people try to take advantage a little bit, and you do need to, you know, let them know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe
and
not
then
review it. Yeah, just like let them know and then like go on with your day.
I have no problems throwing a jab.
Yeah, and you can't like keep that like bottled up either. Like that's not healthy either.
No.
Like I had situations recently. We just moved into a new house and it's an older house. So I went from a brand new construction house to an older house that needed work and stuff like that. And in doing, you know, some of the stuff and hiring some people, you know, this situation with COVID and stuff has really, it's impacted a lot of businesses, but then it's also given a lot of businesses excuses. And I really hate that.
Yeah.
And so I ran into some situations and, you know, I got a little frustrated, but I wouldn't write a review because there's a lot of people out there who probably really loved their services.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So,
no, I get that. I relate to it a lot on just with trying to build it and everything. Now, how close are you to any of these goals that you're trying to achieve with, like, are these just new goals because the book is finished with, like, you know, like you have it out there to Amazon and all this stuff. I mean, that's a big accomplishment to have Target and all that stuff, and then working with the bookshop and doing the readings and all that. Like, you obviously are a builder in the fact that like some people would stop where you're at and be satisfied and just kind of push the book. But I love that you're like, no, let's get into New York City, because that's how I am, and that's how you grow. You have to, like, how I look at it is you kind of just got to punch through stuff. And it's like when you learn how to get to a point, don't stop there, because you can take that and go further. So like, when did you start thinking that you wanted to tackle these goals of being a New York Times bestseller and putting this thing into a movie? And like, you know, where does that come from?
I'm not stopping till I I get there.
Yeah, doggy.
There is. I am a creative madman, and
I love it.
So it's going to happen at some point, hopefully. I think that with writing this second book and getting more attention on Earl and starting to do some more interviews and stuff like that. Don't forget, I put this book out. We had, it's a Christmas story, so I really only have 6 weeks to put it out there and have people actually.
When did it come out?
August of 2019. So then I had that season, and then COVID hit. Ugh. And so last year,
you forget how long that's been fucking stuff up.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's like, and you feel bad for, anyway, that's a whole other story. But
yeah.
But it's crazy. So then I had no year last year because no 6-week gap last year because, COVID. I couldn't do any book readings. No one was doing interviews. No one was doing anything.
Ugh.
So it really shut the production and my progress down with all of this. So
did anything good come out of the shutdown of it? Like, were you able to tweak things and work on things and come up with better ideas?
Not a goddamn thing.
Just stuck.
It sucked.
Just stuck.
Yeah,
That
it was
sucks.
Awful. It was brutal. So, but I did write my second book. So that is something positive. I sat down that I think it was like June and wrote it, and it was, picked up within like 6 months. So, which is awesome. So I think that with this second book and more attention being placed on Earl and people seeing like book to book, I think that's gonna help me out a lot, especially with publicity and stuff. So that's kind of my goal and where I plan on going with it. As far as a movie, that is a very hard industry to tap into.
Yeah.
I've called, spookily, like I looked again on the back of the book and on the DVD and everything else, and I've called. They don't have any time for me. So back to the drawing board, but I will at some point, hopefully that'll click as well. So we'll see.
When did you start getting into, like, well, now I'm excited for you because I didn't realize that you were completely halted on this project that long.
Yeah.
And then how long it took.
Yeah.
And then, but I love it because you're like, yo, let's go. Been waiting. There's people that would have just, woe is me and like the pandemic and I'm not putting my book out now and all this wasted time. There's definitely people that fold and you're not doing that, which is, you are becoming my new best friend as we have this interview. There's so many things that go parallel into how you are. When does this book tour start with the reading? Are you doing a lot of local stuff? Do you have more stuff that you're planning out? Are you going to try and get into schools? Like, what is kind of on the agenda so far for like pushing this book? Because when do you start pushing the book? Like November you started pushing it because you only got till Christmas.
So you actually start trying to book places in July for Christmas season. Some people even in the spring, like I was in talks with the Nazareth School District in the spring of last year, which I am so grateful to them. They introduced my book to all of the elementary schools and a bunch of kids bought my book and I'm going to do a big book reading for
Do
the
they still do
schools
Book It? Or what was the, not Book It, what was the, they used to do, they'd come in and then you could buy books for the day.
They're having a book fair.
Yes, the book fair.
Yeah, this is like my first stint. My daughter is first grade and my other one's in preschool. And last year, kindergarten, there was, we really didn't have a school year. So this is kind of my first year with it. So I have no idea what it entails. But hopefully next year I'll be able to get my book in there as well. But so the schools really stepped up and the elementary schools bought a bunch of copies of my book. So I'm going to go sign it for them and then do a big book reading for them.
Is that at Nazareth?
All of them. Yeah.
Awesome.
So all throughout, which is fantastic. It was so huge for me.
That's huge support.
Huge support. And then I'm going to be at the Promenade Shops in Saucon Valley. They have Santa Claus is arriving, I think on the 20th of November. And then the 21st, he starts with like the pictures and stuff. So Santa and Mrs. Claus are going to read my book, and then I'll be at Barnes and Noble.
It's so much fun because I like that area during Christmas is so cool.
I love
That's gonna feel amazing after all the hard work you put in, and then having all the kids paying attention to them reading the book, and then you're just kind of taking that all in. Like I think that's gonna be your second moment of like the big ass smile that you can't control, because I mean, I know what it's like to be held back and to have things limit you on what you want to do. And then when you finally get there and like, I can already feel like you're ready just from this conversation. You're like, yo, let's go.
Yeah.
Like this has been, we should have done this already.
Yeah.
And then I already got a second book. That's so cool that you're going to be able to do that at the Promenade. And then what do? They go over to Barnes and Nobles and then you're signing the book?
Yep. So we go over to Barnes and Noble and then whoever buys the book, I sign it. I talk to them. if a kid is interested.
Have you done
in
anything like
writing.
that before?
I did. So the first year that it started, I
Were you
kind of made
nervous?
my rounds. No, not really. I don't know.
I guess because they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids, so it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
When I first started, I got myself out on WFMZ and on PBS 39. That was nerve-wracking. That was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But those interviews went really well, and I hope they'll have me on again with my second book,
Do you have to reach out to them for that kind of stuff?
I am my own everything.
Yeah.
So as much as I have a marketing team, like I said, it's really...
You can't wait for people to try and figure out what you want to do. And no one's going to see your vision the way you do.
If you sit back in life and wait for everybody else to hand you things and to get you places, you're going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
So I've knocked on millions of doors, and I'm not going to stop knocking till I reach my goals.
I love it. I'm definitely going to, I think I have let's see, 6 nieces. I probably got 4 of them that still believe in Santa. And then I think this is the last year for Violet, who Gina does all the cooking with me, and her husband's the producer of this show. So I'm going to try and get them all to come out.
That's awesome.
It's dope. I think it's such a cool story.
Thank you.
I didn't know what the story was going to be walking through it. And then now, like, kind of listening to this and meeting you from the moment you were here, and then I want to do this again I want to get into the journalism part and like dig into that, but I also want to promote the book one more time. I don't want to keep you here all day. I want to give you a chance. Well, just thank you for coming on. It's always awesome meeting people, but then meeting people and connecting on a way that I know that you're going to do everything the way that you talk, because like there was an important moment where you were like, yeah, I am going to do that.
Yeah.
And years ago, I started saying that instead of being like, well, I think I'm going to do this. And now what I do is like, yeah, I'm going to open that, or the studio is moving. And then when you start talking in that form, that's when things start happening, because the doubt is taken out.
Yeah.
So I do believe that you're going to do the New York best-selling list, and I think you're going to have multiple versions of this.
Let's do it.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. I want to give you a chance to kind of push where the book's going, how anyone can get a hold of the book, and then anywhere the events are that you're going to be doing the readings and all that stuff, and just kind of promote everything that's going to be about the book coming up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm hugely into the holidays. I mentioned my event planning stuff as well. So I have a page on Instagram. It's called Happy Holidays by Frankly Ferguson. And on there, not only do I promote my book, which will let you know where all of the book readings are and stuff like that, but I do tablescapes and holiday decor and designs, and I've got recipes, and I've got Sunday coffee inspirations.
Hell
and
yeah.
all of this stuff. So head on over there, because you can find everything I'm doing over there. Lots of fun tips on decorating and really, truly making life magical. So bring it.
Awesome. And then you have links for all that stuff in your Instagram that'll take you to where you can get the book and everything?
Yep, it's all on there. So I have a website, franklyferguson.com, and on there's links to where you can buy the book from Walmart to Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. If you just type in Earl the Christmas Tree Spider, you'll find it on there. But also on Instagram, Happy Holidays by Frankly Ferguson. I have a link on there to my website.
I'll put all that stuff inside the YouTube and in the comments and links and stuff. I have one last question before I wrap all this up, because I forgot to ask it while we were closing out. Do you think you will ever do the crime novel?
Hands down.
Let's go.
Hands down.
That was what, because I just wanted to know, because you're going to learn so much from doing the kids stuff that you can now go into this and be like, look, if I put all this work in, I know how to get this published. I know how to put this out. I know where to sell this.
Yeah.
It's going to be... What do you, I don't want to get into too much just because I want to let you go, but like, what is your premise on that? You have to have a premise on it already.
Crime novel. Oh, I started writing it, and then this story presented itself, and I was like, derailed. But the story is so good, it's got to come out. It's about a police officer who goes for her morning jog and finds a bunch of garbage bags on the side of the road, and I'll leave it there. But it is it's a great story. Yeah, and the house I just moved into has a balcony right off my master bedroom.
Awesome.
So I plan on making that my zone, and
hell yeah,
it's gonna happen.
I love everything about you. There's so much more that I want to do. I can't wait to stop doing this so I can throw ideas at you for working together. We got on the phone and it was a hit. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's everythingneveragainstudio.com. That has the YouTube, the audio, it has our apparel. Everything I do is on neveragainstudio.com. Subscribe to the YouTube. I'm building that up. And if you subscribe to Spotify and those, I usually drop the audio early. So like if you're a subscriber to the audio, usually the day before it's announced that it comes out, you'll get it. Same with YouTube. Sometimes I'll drop the premieres. If you're subscribed, the premieres will, your notifications will go off. So if you are like a serious, and I know you're out there, Rips and these guys that listen to this stuff all day, subscribe to everything so it's easier for you guys to get all your Never Again stuff. That's neveragainstudio.com. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be bringing you back on in December, and we're going to push this again as it's closer to the holidays.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Awesome.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.